Absolutely brilliant for me to be able to spend some time talking with Tim Sawyer. Um, Tim's been part of our church, not for that long on one level, but has actually journeyed with us for quite a time on another, all of which will become uh, sort of, well, you'll see as the conversation goes by. Tim, it's brilliant to have time with you this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am 51, soon to be 52. Live at my mum's, looking after my mum, and small family, but very close. So I have a younger sister, Claire, 4 years younger than me, and lovely niece, Jade, who's a bit of a creative genius. She's 22. And yes, love guitars. Spoiler alert there. Love music, and I'm just really enjoying coming closer to faith. And even though it's been an unusual year, it's been one that I'll always remember for Alpha, beginning of the year, which was a huge moment for me, really. I think the third week in, I actually started to really feel the spirit and this sense of profound peace that it was just life-changing. So it's interesting. It's been an interesting year, and those are the main bullet points.
Brilliant. Your connection with Holy Angels goes back a long time, actually, about 40 years. Maybe not quite that much, but
no, it is.
It is about 40 years. Yeah, you were a choir boy. The guitars on the wall began because you were a choir boy in that church. But then, as for many, I guess, as you go through to teenage years, then church becomes a little bit more alien and all the rest of it, and it's easy to drop out. But tell us, what was life like as a teenager, and what decisions did you make as you left school and you took your decisions in life? Tell us a little bit about that story.
On the school side of things, so I was teaching guitar when I was 15. So the last year of school, I knew what I wanted to do. So I didn't really put as much emphasis on exams and stuff like that, because I was just focusing on playing guitar, teaching guitar, and so on. And for any kids watching it, don't do that. You do your exams. Be good. And so yeah, after leaving school, I just decided to throw myself completely into music, practicing many hours a day and teaching. I was a bit of a perfectionist, I admit. I didn't actually do my first concert till I was 19. I've been playing for 9 years, because I thought, right, well, if I'm going to play live, I really have to master this instrument. And it was so funny. The first gig that I did was a covers gig, playing a lot of rock and roll songs, and I realised that 3 chords will get you there. And I'm like, you're joking. It's true. It's true. I'm there just going dun 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 dun. dun. It's like, really? And everyone's going, wait, and I'm like, right. So, but yeah, that was for a great deal of my teenage years. It was spent practicing music, just a very disciplined kind of. For me, if I wanted to do it, I wanted to do it properly, and it's something that has stayed with me through life.
What happened when you left school? When you left home, what decisions did you take then?
Left school when I was 19. In a relationship with a girl that I'd known for many years. It was actually the elder sister of my best mate from school. And not long after that, moved down to London. Was there for between 92 and 95. Within the first week of moving down there, I went for an audition, and I see this guy who's sat in the corner, this manager, I'm guessing because he's not got an instrument anywhere near him. And the previous night, I'd watched a comedy festival on TV, Just for Laughs, I think it was, from Canada. And I see this guy sat in the corner, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, you look familiar. And over the course of the audition, which I got and decided to say yes to, I'm kind of looking at him and I'm like, no, I don't know you from there. Well, I've just moved down to London, so I don't know you. And then all of a sudden I go, did you do a comedy gig in Canada? And he's like, Just for Laughs. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I saw you on TV last night. It's just the strangest of events. And that was Eddie Izzard. So we became 3 years. I saw him a few times each week. I saw the rise to fame kind of thing that he did. Decided that I didn't want it because I saw what it actually was. There was a moment where I played a Radio 1 roadshow in Derry, in the square there. I think it was the first British act that had, or event even, that had happened since the Troubles then. It was right in the square, and you know, the armed guard were there, and the police and bomb squads, and a very intense sort of scene. And I remember I was stood in the enclosure behind the stage, just looking up at the sky and the sun, and just, you know, thinking what a lovely day, and this is a moment for me. And there's all these like teeny girls and kids there around the outside of the enclosure. They're not looking at me, I'm not looking at them. I go on stage, mime, because they won't let you play live on Radio 1. Walk off, all of a sudden, everyone's screaming and wants me to come over, and it's within the same 5 minutes of nobody even giving me a second look. And I'm looking and I'm going, you joking? Is that what it is? And seeing it like increasingly when I was going out for meals with Eddie and friends, it started off where we could just go out, but then it became not possible to go to certain places and actually have an uninterrupted evening and so on. And you know, growing up and playing the guitar, it was like, I want to be on top of the pops. So you want to imitate what you see that is the, you know, the main kind of things in your life. And then I realised, oh, this isn't what I want at all. So I moved back to Manchester, and everything was completely fine after that.
And that's it. That's
it.
how life is, folks. But it wasn't really. It was because one event that happened not too many years later was you did your back in. I mean,
yeah.
And that was a quite a significant and serious moment, wasn't it? I mean,
yes. 18th of September 1998. And you know, when you remember the date of something that's 22 years ago, that it was a serious event. Yeah, I'd suffered with sciatica and just didn't know what it was. I knew nothing about backs. Now, if anyone's got a question and you want the user experience answer, just let me know. There is a difference between a chiropractor and osteopath and so on. So yes, I was given the wrong exercise to do at the wrong time in life. It was the Lord intervening in a way, I feel, because I remember feeling at that point I was in the wrong relationship, living in, you know, a shared house away from friends and family. Not people, they weren't bad people, they just weren't on the same kind of journey as me. The job that I was doing at the time was uninspiring, and as I mentioned to you, I felt like I was a tennis ball between different situations, as sort of tennis rackets kind of thing, just going between. And the Lord said, right, well, if you're not listening to all this stuff and telling you that you're not in the right place with the right people, I'm going to basically put you on the floor. And that's what happened. So the only thing I could do was move back to the family home, and that was it for a couple of years on the floor.
You talk about you that sense of the Lord, you know, saying, right, I've got, you know, I'll stop you.
I think that saved my life, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
I do.
I think I understand that. Was the Christian faith part of your life at that moment? I mean, was that something that you were very conscious of at the time, or was it just something you were searching for, or what was going on?
So yeah, searching for, and looking back, the Christian faith was, but I just didn't know it by name. The associations that I'd had previously, I just didn't know that what Christianity actually was. And really, it was only since coming to Elim and the conversations that I've had with so many great people, the diversity of people, the diversity of ways of understanding, that have allowed me to go, thank you. Okay, sometimes I have these creative thoughts, you may have guessed. Have you seen the film National Treasure with Nicolas Cage?
Okay, no, carry on.
No, there's a Ben Franklin map that you can only see when you have these lenses.
Okay.
These different lenses that come anyway. But that's what it kind of, I had that kind of moment with Elim, whereby my perception and perspective shifted so that then everything started to make more sense.
Yeah. So the sort of, you talked earlier when we were chatting before this interview, you talked about this, the sense of longing.
Yeah. And a restlessness that propelled me into situations through longing to find that connection with God and to know God more, but I wasn't putting it within those terminologies. So I was maybe, you know, looking for it in the amount of time that I'd practiced guitar for, 10 hours a day, as I mentioned earlier, for 4 years straight. Didn't miss a day. Even on holiday, by the way, I didn't mention that. Even on holiday, it would be like, yeah, that's nice. You go on the beach. I'll be in the chalet. You know where I am. And then 10 hours later, I'd go out in the evening and you know, have a drink and a meal or whatever. But
and criticise other guitarists. They haven't practiced. Because of your back, then you were really limited in mobility and in what you could do, and but around the time when the church's coffee shop, the Vine, was just opening, you kind of came along and discovered us. And tell us a little bit about that at that time, about 2000.
Well, I'm a huge advocate for the Vine in you know, and what it's represented in the past, for many reasons. So yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks before my back went, which around 2014, because in the last 20 years, there's been kind of periods off and on for 18 months or so. My back would be all right, and then I'd be laid up for maybe a year or so, and then back again. It was this kind of cycle thing that was going on. So yeah, not long before it went again in 2014. I was walking past the Vine. I liked the name of the Vine, and walked in. Esther was working there. Sammy was working there. Esther's Cookies, marvelous. And I just liked the atmosphere in there. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that when the staff were not actually serving anyone and just like chilling and talking, whenever they were talking, say, about anybody, for example, it was always with love. Whenever they were just generally talking, it was from that place as well. And I'm like, there's good here. I felt it. And so it was only maybe 2 or 3 times that I was able to go. But the first place that I went to when I was first able to get down to the stairs again was straight to the Vine. And yeah, it was, and I've got that as a Facebook Live memory as well, which comes up each year, which is lovely. And in subsequent years as well, it's like, you know, meeting yourself, meeting Ian, playing the first Hog Roast a few years ago, which was quite surreal in a sense for me, because, well, it was the first time I'd ever sung in public, as apart from doing backing vocals. So I was in a mood to sort of push myself, because it's like, you've gone downstairs, you've done this, you've done that, all these little sort of achievements, and it's like, oh, I may as well sing in public for the first time as well, then why not? But yeah, it was surreal seeing so many people from the Vine in one room at the Hog Roast, is my point. And from then on in, it was like, well, I like these people, I want to see more of these people. They get together on a Sunday. Okay, well, I'll go along then. But it was very much people led.
Yeah.
You know.
You mentioned earlier that it was in January this year, where in Alpha, in a sense, the theology, the doctrines, the essence of Christianity sort of did make sense. But it had been a long journey, hadn't it? Why?
Very long journey. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's absolutely appropriate, by the way. But just explain why you took your time. Tell us about the pace.
Well, as I was saying about the amount of time that I put into learning the guitar, it was, if I like something, then I want to really immerse myself within it. So if I learn a language, I want to go to the place that I can go and speak the language in. I don't want to just learn it as some sort of cerebral exercise without using it. And I think some of the associations, and I don't in all honesty know where they've come from, all of them, but with Christianity, there were certain things that I just didn't know about, and so we can be conditioned to believe some things that are just not true. One of the things that I had as a belief from when I was a kid at Holy Angels was, and it's a very good point, by the way, that you made earlier, that I was seeing through the eyes of an early teen within that environment, so I fully understand that. But it just felt to me that my individuality, like back then, was the people that I was looking at that were examples of Christians, Well, for example, after, like at Holy Angels afterwards, they'd have like a coffee morning, but it'd be at the back of the church. But you'd have like people pairing off into little groups, and I'd hear group 1 slagging off what group 2 were wearing, and group 3 slagging off what. And I just, now I know that was the people as opposed to Christianity, but it was like, it kind of put me off, because I'm like, well, I'm looking for the opposite of this. And if you don't understand the cross, for example, well, you know, that's another thing. It's like I didn't understand the cross until like so many people have given me their input on it over the last few years. And you get this moment where it just, you're at peace with it. All of a sudden you go, I get this. But I don't know what it is. It's like other sort of, you know, like, I know Buddhism's not a religion, it's a philosophy, but whenever I sort of studied that, out of that hunger, that wanting to know God, I think one of the things about that was it's got these nice little simplistic phrases, and you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then you kind of go on about your day, and it's like, but it didn't change me. It didn't, you know, now that I know, and I'm still learning Christianese, by the way, the speak, so forgive me. Yeah, I may, if you want to put subtitles.
Yeah, we'll explain all this in subsequent events.
Thank you. He means well along the bottom.
But I think the point that you raise, I think there's a couple of things that I'd kind of like just to reflect on. Is one is how significant it is, and I would want to say this to our own church. I think it's how significant it is to model the grace of God towards one another, because young people are watching. And in a sense, the memories that you carry from 40 years ago could have become insurmountable blockages to faith. And I think that as adults, we easily get caught up in our own moments of, you know, indignation, annoyance, whatever, with one another. And actually, you've got younger members of church, teenagers and children, watching, listening, and forming opinions about faith that are really quite significant. And I think that's worth remembering. But I think the other thing, much more positively perhaps, is the significance of the grace of God that says, actually, you can walk this at your pace. You know, you're right. Christianity is about transformation. It is about significantly deep, mysterious forces of the cross and forgiveness and the presence of God and the work of the Spirit. And for that to take hold takes time. God gets hold of us, but actually for us, it's almost like our understanding to catch up with what we have felt to be true. It's been a delight to talk to you. You're kind of won't be known, you know, this story will not be known to lots of people in our church. But this will not be the final time you'll have to tell your story.
Good. No, it's been a pleasure, really.
And I know that, you know, when we come through this to the other side, that you want to get baptized. You've got very specific desires about where that might happen, in a very cold lake somewhere, and I will ensure that someone is there to baptize you. But I just want to say thanks for the time and how blessed we are to have you with us.
Thank you. No, it's my pleasure, and bless you all. Thank you.